Zootopia 2 might look like just another buddy cop sequel in the world of Disney, but if you're paying attention, it may actually be one of the most important films in the entire Disney animation universe. Zootopia 2 doesn't just continue Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde's story, it quietly confirms where this world is headed, what it used to be, and why animal civilization may never fully escape the circle of life, all while connecting in so many ways to the rest of the Disney animated universe. So welcome to Big Flick Energy, and let's get right into it. And Zootopia 2 once again follows Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde, but this time their partnership is pushed to the brink. Their new case centers on a mysterious snake named Gary the Snake, who claims that reptiles aren't villains, they're victims of a long-running conspiracy tied to Zootopia's elite ruling class, specifically the Linksley family, whose influence dates back to the city's founding. As Judy and Nick go undercover into Zootopia's criminal underworld, they uncover political manipulation tied to predator and prey narratives, secrets about the city's origins, and corruption so deep that it turns them into fugitives. And I mean, part of that is in the first movie as well, but here we see it at a further level. And this isn't just a mystery, it's a story about who controls the narrative of civilization. To understand why this matters, we need to revisit one of the most important themes from the first Zootopia. Bellwether's plan wasn't random. It was designed to force animals back into their natural instincts so what would be considered the prey would be able to rule society. But this would also expose what society already feared predators were. We see the wolves howling together, predators losing restraint, and civilization cracking the moment instinct resurfaced. Zootopia 2 reinforces this idea in subtle but powerful ways once again. For one, the Linksley family is depicted as hyper-territorial, exactly how lynxes behave in nature, which is why they wanted to control everything and they wanted to have their own society, kick the reptiles out. That's the way that lynxes are. And for two, there's actually a joke in the movie where it's kind of a blink and you miss it moment, but this is where a honey badger cop completely loses control anytime her partner smiles, because she instinctively interprets it as a challenge. It's funny, but it's also the point. No matter how advanced Zootopia becomes, these are still animals. They've evolved and have become extremely intelligent versions of themselves throughout history, but at the end of the day, they are still animals and they still tend to attract to their natural instincts. The circle of life hasn't been defeated, it's only been suppressed. And the next point, the Zootopia franchise, both Zootopia and Zootopia 2, and I guess Zootopia Plus, continues reinforcing lineage connections that tie this world together. These are all things that we saw in the first movie, just want to reiterate it, where Nick Wilde still mirrors Robin Hood in design, personality, and moral code, strengthening the idea that Nick is a different descendant of Robin Hood himself. And then Judy Hopps, meanwhile, comes from a rural farm town that closely resembles the farmland near Chicken Little, and that story, placing her upbringing geographically and historically near one of the earliest modern animal societies we've seen in that Chicken Little movie. Now, while speaking on this history of this society, we can't ignore how Zootopia 2 tries to interpret it, where one of the biggest lore reveals in Zootopia 2 is the expanded history of the weather walls, which establish how all these different societies and animals can live together in their own climates so close together. We learn that the walls were built only 3 generations ago, and that Zootopia existed before them, but not in its current form. This single detail explains massive timeline inconsistencies, where in Robin Hood, animal society is ruled by monarchy, where lions are kings, kingdoms instead of cities, and no climate zones. And obviously, lions as kings, this is because the animalistic tendency is for the lion to be the king. All the way back in The Lion King, which we start the Disney animated universe with, we see this, and we see it again in Zootopia. So, moving on from there, Zootopia represents the shift from kingdoms to civilization, where Chicken Little also exists during that transitional period, and Zootopia exists after it's complete. That's why Robin Hood doesn't have weather walls, they didn't exist yet. And that helps explain why that society is so different to the one that we see in Zootopia. And another thing that some people have mentioned would be a break for this theory is how the movie posters from Disney break this theory altogether. and I completely disagree. In this world, films like Wrangled or Floatsin, based on Tangled or Frozen, are based on a true story adaptations of ancient events. Stories passed down from the era when humans ruled the world. I don't think they're actually meant to be the exact story that we've seen, and trying to say how Zootopia is our world, not a continuation of the Disney world. By the time Zootopia exists, these stories are myths. Studios reboot them endlessly, and meaning gets replaced by profit. That's why Zootopia 2 jokes about some of these DVD alternatives in the future as bootlegs, with Wrangled live action and Floats in 12. Obviously, there have only been 2 Frozen movies in our world, so this Floats in 12 wouldn't make any sense unless if it's their own version. They created the first Frozen stories, or Floatsin, to be based off of the true story of Frozen in their world, but eventually they just kept on doing spin-off and spin-off and spin-off. I would say sort of similar to how The Conjuring is supposed to be based on a true story, but it's not actually a true story, and they just keep on doing a ton of stories to add to that world. I would say it's similar to that. So they're iterations of stories no one fully understands anymore, which is exactly how real-world studios treat legends. And it's kind of funny to see Disney doing this, considering how many people have been hating on Disney for doing this themselves. So I don't think it actually destroys the series at all. And in Marsh Market, the aquatic district, we see more remnants of humanity's past, with store names like Ariel's Grotto, Hook's Bait and Tackle, and these names don't really mean what they used to, but they survive throughout generations. Humans are gone, but their stories became brands. Similar to how you'll see a store like Nike, which is based off the God of Victory. It's following that same trend. Now, one of the most important details in Zootopia 2, though, which could be one of those points saying how did this survive throughout so many generations, from the human society all the way to animal society, is the walrus scene where they get a ride to meet up with the reptiles. As the walrus gives Judy and Nick a ride, he sings Bella Notte, the same song from Lady and the Tramp. This implies that intelligent animals passed the song through generations, turning it into a cultural staple of romance. So, given Lady and the Tramp earned a movie, I'll say that they're some of the more intelligent animals at that time. They most likely passed this story down of the song. It became sort of a remnant for their family. And as this song was passed down through generations, it became one of the most impactful songs for animal society, where it was seen as one of the biggest romance songs for animal society moving forward. Which is why a song that's relatively obscure in our world has global relevance in theirs. Culture didn't reset, it evolved. And then, as Disney animated universe movies love to do, it closes with a tease for the next movie to come out from the Disney animated universe and from Disney themselves, which is Hexed. And we see this through the three-eyed cat that shows up in the end credits of this movie, Zootopia 2. And we know that this is the next movie because it was revealed at D23. So you can expect to get another video for Hexed closer to when that movie comes out. Now, where does Zootopia 2 fit into the timeline? This is where everything locks into place, with the Disney Animation Universe timeline, where Zootopia 2 takes place in the year 0262, where I didn't know exactly how to establish what the timeline looked like for Zootopia, Chicken Little, and Robin Hood. So I kind of just established that everything ends with human society, and then animal society takes over. They start their own timeline, and that starts in 0094 with Robin Hood, 0251 in Chicken Little, 0262 for Zootopia. Zootopia Plus is during that, and Zootopia 2 takes place right after Zootopia. We do have the Once Upon a Studio, which does establish everything interconnected and is sort of a memoir to Walter Disney, but it's not fully part of this world. I think it's just something good to watch at the end and as a good form of memorabilia. That makes Zootopia 2 the current endpoint of Disney's animated chronology. So Zootopia 2. It confirms the circle of life still governs behavior even after Bellwether's schemes failed. It reinforces ancestral connections across centuries. It explains architectural and political evolution during the world at this time. Shows how human history became myth and also continued its legacy through the animal society. and solidifies Zootopia as the future of this world. It doesn't break the Disney animation universe theory, it strengthens it. And with that, that's our video. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and check out my original video on the Disney animated theory, alongside the subsequent videos I've made for Moana 2 and the other stories that have come recently from Disney, because this one doesn't exist without it. And let me know in the comments what Disney movie you think secretly connects next. I have a video idea for 4th of July that I'm going to do to connect in this world with some of the American hero stories from Disney. But let me know what you think about Zootopia 2, what you want to see connect next into this world, your excitement levels for the future of Disney. If you think Zootopia 2 does confirm a lot of these items, and Bella Notte being one of the greatest songs of all time for romance for this movie and this world, and just anything else about this theory. Thanks again, and see you all next time on Big Flick Energy.